So the Phoenix Suns have just swept the Denver Nuggets and are advancing to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since the 2009 season, I believe, back when they had Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, and they were going up against Kobe's Lakers, who were just about to repeat for their second championship. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal. It's a big deal for Devin Booker, who for a long time we've known is one of the best players in the NBA. This is a big deal for Chris Paul, who has been one of the best players in the NBA for a very long time. And as far as he ever got in the playoffs before this was the Western Conference Final, so he's going back to try to, get rid of the demons of the past. Devin Booker never been in the playoffs before. They nearly swept the Lakers. They won that series 4-1. They swept Nikola Jokic's Nuggets, the MVP Nikola Jokic, and the Denver Nuggets. And now they're in the Western Conference Finals. We have to see how things play out between the series in Utah and LA. That's right now tied, but the Phoenix Suns are damn good. And a lot of people are asking, are they the best team in the league right now? Are the Phoenix Suns at the top of the pecking order? Given what they've done since the bubble, like forget just this season, include what they did what Devin Booker especially did in the last few games, those last 8 games in the bubble when they went undefeated until now, it's hard to argue that this isn't the best team in the NBA. The one thing I will say, though, is I still think the Nets against this team, the Nets win in a 7-game series. And it's going to be close. It's going to be close, honestly. I do think, though, that the one thing that will help them go over is the fact that not only do they have Devin Booker, not only do they have Chris Paul, but they do have a bunch of role players and, those that DeAndre Ayton, who I think is a pretty good 3 on that team. They have people like Crowder. They have DeAndre Ayton. Like they have some ballers there. They have some ballers on this team who have been there, who are proving themselves, and who I think are going to make a huge difference when it comes to defending some of the players on the Nets. That doesn't mean that they're going to, shut them down. That's not going to happen. You're never going to shut down, a great offense in the NBA these days like that. What it does mean, though, is they're going to be able to contain the Nets, which is honestly, if you're the Suns and you want to win the finals, you want to advance, or you want to get a championship, bring a championship home to Phoenix, you're going to have to contain them. Because if you don't, if it's a pound for pound, offensive showcase, and that's all it is, the Nets just have too much offensive firepower. Especially if James Harden comes back. Team's going to be OP. But when we're talking about the Suns, one thing we have to talk about too, I think, is Chris Paul. Chris Paul, in my opinion, was the X factor for this team. There's been a lot of talk about Chris Paul, whether he was in Houston, whether he was in LA, whether he was in New Orleans before that. There's a lot of talk that he will only get you so far. That bringing him in will only get you so far. We saw that the Hornets went to the Western Conference Finals with Chris Paul. The Houston Rockets went to the Western Conference Finals. I don't believe the LA Clippers went to the Western Conference Finals, but they only went so far in the playoffs. And he was never able to get to that finals. And this is a team right now that I think they could very easily beat the Clippers. They could, if they wanted to, very easily beat the Utah Jazz. This is the class of the Western Conference this year. No question in my mind. This is the class of the Western Conference. And Chris Paul and his leadership, the fact that he scored, I believe, 37 in that closeout game against the Nuggets. The fact that he's clutch, the fact that he's scoring, the fact that he's making players around him better, that young team is getting better. Devin Booker is somehow better. The fact that this is all happening shows you the value that Chris Paul has to a team like the Phoenix Suns. They didn't necessarily need to bring in another huge superstar, another big time free agent, another, 1A, 1B with Devin Booker. They brought in Chris Paul, and now they're in the Western Conference Finals, and they could very easily punch their ticket to the finals. And Chris Paul is a big part of that. Let's not discount Devin Booker. We know what he does. It's I believe, the youngest player in NBA history to have a 70-point game. That's crazy. It's insane. But that's the Suns. DeAndre Ayton took a step forward. He's not, is he better than some of the people that were drafted after him? No, probably not. But that doesn't matter. He is producing for this team. And without DeAndre Ayton, this team isn't here. Like, these are all the pieces coming together to create a perfect storm. And I think the fact that Devin Booker might be one of the best offensive players in the game, if not the best, is going to help them out a lot against a team like the Nets if they get to the finals. I think that Chris Paul's experience, I think Crowder's experience, I think that DeAndre Ayton's defensive ability is going to make a difference. So that's going to be an interesting matchup if that happens. Now, I'm not saying that, the Utah Jazz or the LA Clippers won't win that series, but I'm not saying the Utah Jazz could be a tough outing, but this is the Suns conference. The Western Conference is owned this year by the Phoenix Suns. And the question is, can anyone beat them? I would say the Nets can. The Bucks, I don't think so. I don't see the Bucks winning that. Philadelphia, I don't know. I don't see that as a good matchup for Philadelphia either. It's the Nets. The Nets and the Suns are the two best teams in the NBA right now. If you ask me, if we had to have a match of the two best teams, these would be it for this year. And I give the slight edge to the Nets. And I would say Nets in 6. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.